We sometimes will get inquiries from our clients who are interested in asset protection about the difference between a Cook Islands trust or any foreign trust and a domestic asset protection trust. I found in my years of experience that the Cook Islands Trust is a superior asset protection tool, and here's why. So the Domestic Asset Protection Trust is a trust set up under the laws of particular states where the state statute specifically provides that a person in that state can create an asset protection trust and which will be exempt or outside the reach of civil creditors. So under these state statutes, a creditor can create a trust for themselves where they are the trust maker, the trustee, and the beneficiary of their own trust, and move assets into the trust. And under the statute set up in these states, these assets would be exempt from any civil creditors. The problem is that if you're in a state that does not have these statutes or has different laws, that you don't have that statute in your state that enables you to create a domestic asset protection trust in the state. So you would have to do a trust under another state, a foreign state. For example, let's say you're a resident of Florida, where I work and live, and you want to set up a domestic trust. You would have to set up the trust under other states that do have these statutes. Example, Wyoming has domestic asset protection trust statutes, so does Nevada, so does Alaska, so does Delaware, and there's some other states that have these similar statutes. Some statutes are better than others, but in the non-domestic trust state, such as our state or Texas or other states, Georgia, that you're not assured to have the statutes set up in Nevada and Wyoming apply to you. So for example, in my state of Florida, there are court decisions that are expressly hostile to self-settled trust and have declared it against public policy for someone to put assets in a domestic trust and protect them from creditors. And in that case, the courts in our state or your state, if you live in a state like Florida, these courts are going to look at these court decisions that are hostile, and they're not going to recognize the protections afforded by some foreign state like Nevada or Wyoming. It's just not going to work. And you'll find on the internet certain people who are promoting these domestic trusts, and these people are usually lawyers who are situated in the favorable states, Wyoming, Nevada, Delaware, and they're trying to sell these trusts to you even though you don't live in their states. But you'll find that even though it sounds good, that if you're the one who's the debtor and you're in your own state, it's possible but unlikely that your judges are going to recognize the laws of some foreign state. And you might be protected, but as I said, it's unlikely, and especially when you have hostile court decisions in your state. The offshore trust, you don't have this problem, because in an offshore trust, we're not protecting the assets because of a state statute in the U.S. We're protecting the assets because we're placing them under the control of a trustee in a foreign jurisdiction who is totally outside the U.S. court jurisdiction. So it doesn't matter what Nevada, Wyoming, Florida, New York, it doesn't matter what their statutes are, what their courts are able to do. They cannot reach beyond the jurisdiction of their own state. So by putting the assets offshore, you're outside the statutes, you're outside the court decisions of the U.S. courts, and by removing the assets from that risk, you are protecting them from creditors, because the trustees located in the Cook Islands or other foreign jurisdictions are simply not going to recognize court orders or statutes or any other legal device that could enable creditors to levy on your assets in the event there's a judgment against you. So for all those reasons, I've never recommended that a client have a domestic trust when they also considering a foreign Cook Islands trust, because the foreign trusts just work better and are more protective and have less risk of exposing your assets to domestic creditors.